My husband doesn't know that I know what he's up to. My husband, 34M, and I, 33F, welcomed our first baby in June last year. One of the gifts we received was a beautifully chunky knitted blanket from my husband's aunt. It's incredibly soft, and I've often mentioned how much I'd love a full-sized version because I'm a bit envious of our baby's cozy blanket. Last weekend, my husband slipped out to the store without explaining where he was going or why. Later, I found a plastic bag from a local crafting store. That evening, he asked if he could have an hour of alone time each night after our son goes to bed. He emphasized that he didn't want to be disturbed but that I could call or text if needed. I agreed, understanding that we both need some personal time since our son was born. Last night, during his alone time, our son started crying. I checked the baby monitor and saw that he had simply lost his pacifier and was going back to sleep. However, the baby monitor also shows part of our son's room, not just his crib. In the corner of his room, I saw my husband sitting on the floor with a bunch of chunky yarn in front of him. I turned the volume up and heard that he was watching a YouTube video on how to finger knit. This sweet man is making me a blanket. He absolutely loves surprising me but is terrible at keeping secrets. I just know that he is going to slip up and accidentally mention something about the blanket at some point. I plan on acting clueless so that I will still be surprised when he gives it to me. I just love him so much and I'm so delighted that he's learning a new skill so I can have a custom blanket. Update. Brief backstory, I posted recently about how I checked the baby monitor while my son was sleeping and saw my husband sitting on the floor of my son's room finger knitting a blanket for me after I made a comment on how I wanted a chunky blanket. My sweet husband broke. He kept on mentioning that he was working on a surprise for me. I would occasionally ask what this mysterious project was and he would get a cheeky smile and say, "I can't tell you." That eventually evolved into him repeatedly telling me that keeping the surprise was really hard and he wanted to just tell me. I kept saying no. You've kept it a surprise for this long, you can keep going. But one day after dinner he decided he couldn't keep it in anymore. He showed it to me. It was only about 1/4 done, but it was lovely. The yarn was really soft and was my favorite color. I could tell he had taken his time because of the consistency of all the loops. Even unfinished it was perfect. He told me that he kept moving it around to different hiding spots, but since our house is very small it was only a matter of time before I accidentally found it. He said he had run out of yarn and asked if I wanted to pick out another color to add to it. I said yes and we made a little date out of it. We grabbed lunch and then walked around the craft store before I picked out a complementary color to the one he chose. He hasn't had much time to work on it the last few days, but he assured me it will be finished by my birthday. I'll post a picture of the blanket when it's finished. For now, I am wildly impressed with how long he kept it a secret and I'm so excited to have my first ever handmade blanket. Relevant comments. First comment, OMG, the title makes this sound like it could have been something else. But it's so cute. Also, why do men seem to always forget about the baby monitor? Second comment, OMG, I was ready for another unhappy story, but this is the sweetest thing I've read on this sub. What a sweet, sweet man.